Hi everyone. Today is another few chapters of Sideways Stories from Wayside School. I'm starting on chapter 8. We'll learn about 3 more of the students in that classroom. Myron, chapter 8. Myron had big ears. He was elected class president. The children in Mrs. Jewell's class expected him to be a good president. Other presidents were good speakers. Myron was even better. He was a good listener. But he had a problem. He didn't know what the class president was supposed to do. So he asked, "What am I supposed to do?" "Well, it's a difficult job," said Mrs. Jewels, "but you can do it. You must turn the lights on every morning and turn the lights off at the end of the day." "What?" said Myron. "As a class president, you must learn to listen," said Mrs. Jewels. "I'll repeat myself only one more time. You must turn the lights on every morning." "I heard you the first time," said Myron. "It just doesn't sound like much of a job." "Oh, it certainly is," said Mrs. Jewels. "Without light I can't teach, and the children can't learn. Only you can give us that light. I think it's a very important job." "I guess so," said Myron. He wasn't convinced. "Here, let me show you how to work a light switch," said Mrs. Jewels. "I already know how," said Myron. "I've been turning lights on and off all my life." "Very good," said Mrs. Jewels. "You'll make a fine president." Myron wanted to be the best president ever, but it was such an easy job he thought that anybody could do it. When school let out that day, Myron stayed behind. He turned out the lights by flicking the switch down. "Excellent," said Mrs. Jewels. On his way home, Myron heard a horrible noise. First there was a loud screeching, then a sharp squeal, a roaring engine, and then the very faint sound of a girl crying. Myron ran to see what happened. Dana was bent over in the middle of the road. "What's the matter?" asked Myron. "My dog Pugsy was hit by a car," Dana cried. "Who did it?" asked Myron. "I don't know," Dana sobbed. "They sped away." "Well, that's not important," said Myron. "We've got to try to save Pugsy." Pugsy laid unconscious in the street. Myron carefully picked her up and carried her 2 miles to the vet. Dana cried at his side. "Don't worry, Dana," said Myron. "She'll be all right." But he really wasn't so sure. We gave Pugsy to the vet, walked Dana home, then he walked home himself. Dana was so upset that she forgot to thank him. Myron didn't mind. He thought that was what being class president was all about. The next morning, before he went to school, Myron went to Dana's house. Pugsy was there, and she seemed all right. Dana petted her. Pugsy licked her face. "See, Myron, she's all right," said Dana. "The vet said that you brought her in just in time." "Hi, Pugsy," said Myron. He petted her. Bugsy bit his hand. "I guess she doesn't know you," said Dana. "She was unconscious yesterday when you saved her life." Dana's mother put some medicine and a Band-Aid on Myron's hand, and she drove the children to school. They were late. Then they ran up the stairs to Mrs. Jewell's class. The room was completely dark. "Well, it's about time you got here, Myron," said Mrs. Jewels. "We have no lights." "Why didn't someone else just turn them on?" asked Myron. "Because you're class president," said Mrs. Jewels. "Show Stephen how to work the lights. From now on, he will be class president." Myron showed Stephen how to turn on the lights. He flicked the switch up. At the end of the day, Myron showed Stephen how to turn the lights off. He flicked the lights down. After a week, Stephen finally caught on. He made a good president. The lights were on every morning. Myron, who was president for only a day, was the best president in the history of Wayside School. It was just that nobody knew it. Okay, the next chapter is about Mauricia. Mauricia liked ice cream. She was sweet and pretty and could beat up any boy in Mrs. Jewell's class. Everybody liked Mauricia except Kathy, but then she didn't like anybody. Mauricia only liked ice cream. Every day, Mauricia bought an ice cream cone to school and kept it in her desk until lunchtime. At first, she brought chocolate ice cream every day, but she soon tired of chocolate ice cream, so she started bringing vanilla, but she got tired of vanilla too. Then she got tired of strawberry, fudge ripple, butter pecan, pistachio, and burgundy cherry in that order. Then a terrible thing happened. Mauricia got tired of ice cream. By that time, her desk was a mess and everything in it was sticky. Everybody liked Mauricia, but Mauricia didn't like anything. Mrs. Jules hated to see Mauricia unhappy. "I don't understand it, Mrs. Jules," cried Mauricia. There just aren't any good flavors anymore." So Mrs. Jules worked all night, and the next day she brought in a new flavor of ice cream for Mauricia. It was Mauricia flavored ice cream. "Everybody will like it," thought Mrs. Jules, "because everybody likes Mauricia." "Here you are, Mauricia," said Mrs. Jules. "Mauricia flavored ice cream." Everybody gathered around as Mauricia tasted it. They hoped she'd like it. Mauricia took a lick. "Well?" said Mrs. Jules. Mauricia took another lick. "Well?" said the class. "The ice cream has no taste," said Mauricia. "It doesn't taste bad. It doesn't taste good. It doesn't taste like anything at all." Mrs. Jules was heartbroken. "Here, let me try it," said Todd. He tasted it. "You're crazy, Mauricia. This is the best tasting ice cream I've ever eaten. Try some, Dee Dee." It's delicious," said Dee Dee. "It's sweet and creamy," and she passed it around the room. "It is so good," said Leslie. "I think it tastes terrible," said Kathy. "I don't understand it," said Mauricia. "I don't taste a thing." Mrs. Jewell slapped herself in the face. "Oh, I've made a big mistake, Mauricia. Of course you can't taste anything. It's Mauricia flavored ice cream. It's the same taste you always taste when you're not tasting anything at all." So the next day, Mrs. Jewell brought in Joe flavored ice cream. Mauricia liked it. So did everybody else. Joe thought it had no taste. Everybody liked Mauricia. Mauricia only liked Joe. The following day, Mrs. Jewell brought in Ron flavored ice cream. Ron thought it had no taste, but everybody else loved it. Everybody liked Mauricia. Mauricia only liked Joe and Ron. By the end of the month, Mrs. Jewell had brought in 27 new flavors of ice cream, one for each member of the class. Everybody liked Mauricia, and Mauricia liked everybody. They all tasted so good, all except Kathy, that is. Kathy flavored ice cream tasted a little bit like old bologna. Everybody still agreed that Mauricia flavored ice cream was the best, except Mauricia. She liked Todd ice cream the best. This turned out to be a problem. Every once in a while, Mauricia would try to take a bite out of Todd's arm in order to get that very special flavor. And that's the end of the chapter about Mauricia. Love you.